All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Devin Rasico. I'm with the Connecticut Department of Transportation, and I am the project engineer for State Project 47121, which includes the intersection improvements along Route 140 at the Burbank Road and Newell Hill Road intersection in the Town of Ellington. I want to welcome you to the virtual public informational meeting for this project, and it will consist of a live virtual presentation followed by a question and answer session. And I'd like to bring your attention to the project email displayed on the screen, dot.project47-121@ct.gov, and the project voicemail, 860-944-1111. Email and voicemail questions and comments can be submitted through the end of the public comment period, which will end July 12th, 2022. And I'd also like to point out that the project webpage shown near the middle of the screen, portal.ct.gov/DOT Ellington 47-121 includes a general project information, plans, and information on how to get into contact with the department with any of your questions or comments that you might have after the conclusion of this meeting. A recording of this presentation will be posted to the webpage within a few days following tonight, and closed captioning, including non-English translation options, will be available at that time. The next slide will explain how Microsoft Teams users can view live captions for tonight's meeting.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We will be starting our meeting momentarily. Before we start, I wanted to let you know that available for those of you viewing this presentation via Microsoft Teams is the option to view the captions or subtitles. To turn on these features, select the CC button at the bottom right corner of your screen. This turns on the captioning. Then choose the language by selecting the settings wheel next to the CC button. Select Caption/Subtitles and select the desired language. Available languages are English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Creole. Thank you.
And there are 3 ways to communicate with us during tonight's question and answer session. Again, you can email questions to dot.project47-121@ct.gov or call and leave a voicemail at 860-944-1111. And another more immediate way to communicate with us is through the Microsoft Teams live chat, in which you can submit your questions or comments directly into the presentation. A moderator will post any questions or comments into the Microsoft Teams Q&A chat, and we will answer your questions after the presentation concludes. The public comment period again runs through July 12th, 2022, and if you're unable to post your questions or comments tonight, they can be sent to the previously mentioned project email address and phone number, which are again shown on the screen. The next slide will give some instructions on how to enter questions and comments into that Microsoft Teams chat.
If you are viewing through Microsoft Teams, you can post a question or comment by clicking the little question mark to the top right of the presentation window and clicking the My Questions tab or the Ask a Question button. You then have an option to enter your name and type your question into the Ask a Question field. Click the checkbox to post anonymously, then click the double arrow or hit Enter to post a question. Click Featured to view announcements and attendee questions. You may experience a delay before your own sent question is posted. You can exit the questions window by clicking X and can return to it at any time by clicking the Show Q&A question mark. Click the My Questions tab to post another question or hit X to close the window again. To maximize the presentation window, click the arrow to the bottom right of the presentation window and click the arrow again to reduce the window size.
The department has established a survey to solicit feedback on today's meeting. There is also a civil rights information available. And to that point, I'd like to state that no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. A link to both the survey and civil rights information is available on the aforementioned project webpage for your convenience, and it will be posted to the chat following this presentation. Now I'd like to introduce the project's design team. The Department of Transportation is represented on this project by Matt Vale, the principal engineer of highway design, Salvatore Resco, the project manager, myself, Devin Rasico, the project engineer, and Samuel McCollum, the design engineer. We're also joined today by Matt Giannakopoulos, the rights-of-way coordinator for this project, and Ken Radzawan, the public works director for the Town of Ellington, who would now like to say a few words on behalf of the town. Ken?
Thanks, Devin. Yes, my name is Ken Radzawan. I'm the Director of Public Works here in the Town of Ellington. I just want to say a few quick words to everyone that's listening. I just want to say that this is a great project from the department, and we're very excited that the department is eyeing this project along with several other projects in town. It's going to be huge to rectify the intersection in order to enhance the safety for the traveling public. It's certainly a challenge for anybody driving the corridor now. We all know that, quite frankly, a little bit scary as you approach this intersection from many directions. So this is very welcomed. Everyone should be very excited that the department has taken this on. Going to make this much safer than it currently is, which is awesome. So it's going to be a great benefit to anyone traveling through here, that works here, that lives in the area, such as myself and others. Very appreciative of that. I do want to thank Sal and his team, Devin and Sam, everyone that's been pulling this together from the department. Also, a quick shout out to the BL companies, Steve Frazier and his team, for assisting the department in this presentation as well. And I want to thank everyone for attending. I hope that we can have a productive and engaging conversation at the end of this presentation. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the department. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ken. And with that, Sam will take us through the formal presentation.
All right. Thanks, Devin. Thanks, Ken. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam McCollum. I'm the design engineer for State Project 47121, and I'll be taking you through the rest of this presentation today. So starting off with a little bit of project background here. So 47121 actually originates from State Project 47105, and that was a corridor improvement project between routes 83 and 30 along Route 140. And that was suspended in 2001 due to overall public opposition and a lack of funding. In 2010, the department began evaluating some of these locations along Route 140 to initiate some smaller independent projects. And then in 2019, State Project 47121 was initiated with a purpose and need to increase the site distances on Route 140 for the Burbank Road intersection. The project needs to improve the existing roadway geometry along Route 140 to improve these sight lines. So looking at our project schedule, so we're set to complete our design on August 30th, 2023, to advertise for construction on September 27th, 2023, and then for construction to start in the spring of 2024. Currently, we're at an estimated construction cost of about $4 million, and that's with 80% federal funds and 20% state funds. So just a brief overview of this presentation. So we'll first be going over our project location, as well as some existing conditions. Then we'll be reviewing our crash history, and then that'll bring us to our proposed improvements and the considerations that we made when developing those improvements, and that'll bring us to our question and answer session. All right, so starting with location. So 47121 is located east of our Ellington Town Center here along Route 140 at its intersection with Newell Hill Road and Burbank Road. So if we zoom in on our project location here, you can see Newell Hill Road intersecting Route 140 at a pretty sharp angle, with Burbank Road intersecting Route 140 a little bit further east here. Within this area, we do have several residential properties, as well as wetlands on either side of Burbank Road here and either side of Route 140 that then continue east outside of our project limits. I just want to take a little bit of time to go through some existing site photos here and start at our Newell Hill Road intersection. So as you can see in this photo, and again, just to reiterate, as Newell Hill, you can see in this photo, Newell Hill Road intersects Route 140 at a pretty sharp angle and at a pretty steep slope as well. At this intersection, Newell Hill Road is unpaved, but it does transition to pavement a little bit further north outside of our project limits. And as you can see in this photo, the side slope condition ends up being pretty poor as these slopes are also very steep and these slopes are very heavily vegetated. Moving a little bit further east now. This next photo was taken looking down on Burbank Road from the top of Route 140, and I think it just demonstrates how eastbound traffic on Route 140 really just can't see traffic maneuvering from our Burbank Road intersection here, especially on the south end of Burbank there as well. Next photo was taken looking at our Burbank Road intersection from the south here. And really all I'd like to point out at this intersection is the flashing beacon that's currently in the center of the intersection, as well as this grass splitter island here with a utility pole located on it. All right, this next photo moves us into the intersection now. And it was taken from the perspective of a driver waiting at the south end of Burbank, looking west on Route 140. And I think you can see in this photo just how quickly that sightline is obstructed by not only the geometry of Route 140 in this area, but also these side slopes off to the side of the road here as well. All right, moving a little bit further west now. This next photo was taken looking east on Route 140. And again, all I'd like to point out in this photo are these steep side slopes here between Newell Hill Road and Route 140. And I also think this photo demonstrates how bad the sightline is for a vehicle traveling eastbound on Route 140. You really just can't see traffic maneuvering from the Newell Hill Road intersection to the top of the hill either. All right, this last photo here, this was taken looking at our western project limit. And really all I'd like to note with this is how steep these roadside slopes are directly off of the edge of road here on Route 140. Going to bring us to our crash history. So before I get into what you see in the center of your screen here, I'm just going to draw your attention to our legend on the bottom right-hand side. So as you can see within the circle, we have our total crashes over our total injuries. So in this case, from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2021, we saw a total of 13 crashes with 4 injuries reported at the Burbank Road intersection. To break that down a little bit, 10 of those crashes were angle type. 9 of which, and actually all of our reported injuries, were a result of traffic on the south end of Burbank failing to stop the traffic on Route 140. We also saw an additional rear end collision as a result of that same exact movement. Across the street from that, you can see we had an additional angle type here. And just east of the intersection, you can see we had a side swipe and a out of control type crash at this location. I think it's also important to note that we actually saw no crashes reported at the Newell Road intersection during this time period. All right, so that's going to bring us to our proposed improvements. I just want to draw your attention to the bottom left-hand side of your screen here, where you can see the legend. Here you'll see our roadway reconstruction is this lighter gray. Driveway reconstruction is this darker gray. Cut slopes are brown. Fill slopes are green. Mill and paved sections are this yellow hatched line style, and any wetlands are this line style here. So zooming in on the first section of the project, you can see any highway line or street line is going to be this white line style. Any acquisition or easement line is going to be this red line style here. And then we have this dashed black line. That is our edge of pavement, our existing edge of pavement. And then this solid black line here, that is our proposed edge of pavement. So with that, you can see in this figure, we're going to be starting our improvements 50 feet west of the 47 Crystal Lake Road driveway, where we're going to be just doing some very minor driveway apron reconstruction to account for the very minimal widening of Route 140 that we're doing in this area. Again, I just want to draw attention to the difference between that dashed black line and that solid black line here. Very minimal widening in this area. And we'll also be doing some cross slope correction in this area as well to help with driver safety and improve drainage here as well. In this figure across the street, you can also see the grades that we're proposing on 38 Crystal Lake Road. All right, moving into the next section of the project. This will be the realignment for Newell Hill Road. We're now going to be teeing up that roadway with Route 140, and you can see the grades that are going to be associated with that. We'll also be adding some new drainage structures at this intersection, as well as providing guide rail where we tie back into our existing roadway at the north end of the project here. Across the street from that, you can see the continued impacts to 38 Crystal Lake Road. Really not a ton to note here, just that we will be performing some very minor driveway apron reconstruction here, as well as some grading off of that. Again, to account for the very minimal widening that we're doing to accommodate uniform 12-foot travel lanes and 2-foot shoulders throughout these project limits. And lastly, moving into the last section of our project here. So these are going to be our impacts at Burbank Road. Really not a ton to note here, just that we will be paving over this grass splitter island that's currently at the center of the intersection, and we will be grading within a sightline easement on 46 Burbank Road. Across the street from that, you can see the impacts to 48 Burbank Road. Really not a ton to note here, just that we will be doing some minor grading, as well as some minor driveway apron reconstruction here as well. And then to close out our project on our eastern limit, this is where we'll be performing a mill and pave to help reduce impacts to the adjacent wetlands on either side of Route 140 here. Coming back out here, I just want to make note of the vertical height adjustments that we'll also be making to Route 140. So specifically between stations 110 to 115, so about between this barn on 38 Crystal Lake Road to just west of our Burbank Road intersection, we're going to be proposing to lower Route 140 by about 4 feet. And it's going to be that lowering in addition to the grading within that sightline easement on 46 Burbank Road. That's going to allow for a significant improvement for all vehicle sight distances at Burbank Road looking west on Route 140. And all those improvements that I just mentioned are going to require reconstructing about 1,800 feet of Route 140, 600 feet of Newell Hill Road will need to be realigned, and then 150 feet on either end of Burbank Road will need to be reconstructed as part of these improvements. So just to better demonstrate the lowering of Route 140 in this area, so these are two 3D renderings from the perspective of a driver traveling westbound on Route 140. So as you can see in our existing condition, like I mentioned, that sightline again is very quickly obstructed by not only the geometry of Route 140 in this area, but also these side slopes here. And now, if we lower Route 140 by that 4 feet and grade within that sightline easement, that's going to allow for traffic traveling westbound on Route 140, as well as waiting at our Burbank Road intersection to see much further west down this corridor. So to further demonstrate that same point, so these are the existing sight distances for two passenger vehicles waiting on either side of Burbank Road currently. 366 feet, 295 feet. Like I mentioned, both of these sight distances end up being impacted and obstructed by not only the geometry of Route 140, but also these side slopes on 46 Burbank Road. But now, with our proposed improvements to lower Route 140 by that 4 feet and to grade within that sightline easement, both of those sight distances now become 500 feet. All right, looking at our Newell Hill Road improvements here. So this is another 3D rendering of what the site will look like after Newell Hill Road is realigned. Really all I want to point out with this 3D rendering is the grading that we're proposing at the intersection to help with vehicle safety as well as some drainage here. To show off the benefits of this improvement. Again, here's your car approaching Newell Hill, approaching Route 140 from Newell Hill Road, and these are the two sight distances associated with that. So 129 feet, 155 feet, not the greatest. I'm sure if you've ever tried to turn from this intersection, you'll know you really just can't see past either of these embankments here, and the roadway becomes quickly obstructed by both of those embankments, and you just can't see past this curve on Route 140. But now, with our proposed improvements to realign Newell Hill Road, we are now going to be putting drivers at an ideal vantage point on Route 140, allowing them to see over 500 feet looking left and 350 feet looking right. That's going to bring us to our other considerations that we made when developing these improvements, and starting with our utility considerations. So it's anticipated that 8 poles will need to be relocated as part of these improvements for reasons ranging from either being within our cut fill limits to being within the area that we're actually relocating Newell Hill Road onto. Thankfully, we don't have any underground utilities within these limits, so that was not a concern for this project. And you can see each of those affected poles here in red. To our rights-of-way considerations. So, like I mentioned, we're most likely going to need a partial acquisition for our Newell Hill Road realignment. We are also expecting several easements, obviously the first of which being that sightline easement I mentioned on 46 Burbank Road. We also will likely need a few drainage easements as well as several slope easements throughout our project limits. And as far as our rights go, several rights to grade will be needed, rights to reconstruct driveway and to install temporary erosion control throughout this corridor. Just to help break that down a little bit, so I'm just going to go property by property here and just kind of explain at least a few of the impacts that we're proposing on each one. So starting with 38 Crystal Lake Road here, you can see the first of our drainage easements. as a result of some drainage improvements that we're making in this area. You'll also notice a slope easement on this property as well. And just to further explain what that slope easement is going to look like, I'm just going to slice the roadway here. And I like to imagine this view as almost like a slice of bread, with Route 140 kind of being like that entire loaf of bread. So in this view, you can see all those little nooks and crannies that you would in a typical slice of bread, which in this case end up being like our pavement layers, any curbing that we're adding, any drainage work that we're doing. But really what I want to draw your attention to are the grades in this area. So you can see here our existing terrain is represented by this dashed black line, and our proposed grades are represented by this solid green line. And it's the difference between that two which will require ultimately that slope easement on this property. Next property now, this is the undeveloped property that is west of Newell Hill Road and north of 38 Crystal Lake Road. Here we're just going to be proposing some miscellaneous slope easements as a result of our realignment of Newell Hill Road and reconstruction of Route 140. So again, if I just take a slice out of the roadway here, you can see the reconstruction of Route 140 and the grades that are going to be required as a result of that work. The next property now, this one is the undeveloped property that is east of our Newell Hill Road and north of 38 Crystal Lake Road. Here's where we're proposing that partial acquisition for the realignment of Newell Hill Road, as well as a slope easement to help with grades and drainage in this area as well. Again, if I just take another slice out of the roadway, you can see what those new grades will look like off of our proposed realignment for Newell Hill Road. Moving to 46 Burbank Road now, like I mentioned before, this is where we're proposing that sightline easement, and that's really what's going to be required to further increase the sight distances for all vehicles looking west from Burbank Road onto Route 140. And then we also have a slope easement off of that. And again, if I just slice the roadway here, you can see this is the limit for our sightline easement within this section. And then off of that, we have our slope easement. And that's really going to be allow us some flexibility with transitioning our proposed grades into the existing terrain in this area, especially because we are lowering Route 140 in this area as well and grading within the sightline easement. So just for aesthetics, it'll help us out a lot. Moving across the street now to 48 Burbank Road. Not a ton to note here, just that we are proposing a slope easement on this property, again, as a result of the lowering of Route 140 in this area. And again, if I just slice the roadway here, you can see an action those cut slopes in the same cross section I showed in the previous slide, just on the opposite side of the road now. And lastly, looking at our right-of-way impacts to the undeveloped property at the southeast corner of the Burbank Road intersection. And here we're just going to be proposing a drainage easement as a result of some new structures that we're adding at this intersection. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Matt Giannakopoulos. He's our right-of-way coordinator for this project, and he's going to talk about right-of-way policy as it relates to this project. Matt?
Thank you, Sam. I'm Matt Giannakopoulos. I'm a project coordinator with the Department's Division of Rights-of-Way. It is our office's responsibility to acquire the property rights that are needed for transportation projects. As Sam just did a great job outlining, the proposed design does require the acquisition of some property as well as some easements from a few of the adjacent properties near the project. So I'm here tonight to give you a brief overview of the department's right-of-way acquisition process. All property rights that will be required will be acquired in accordance with the Connecticut General Statutes sections 13A-73, 13A-98E, and whenever there is federal money used in any aspect of a project, the department must adhere to what is known as the Uniform Act. When the design has progressed to the point where we're ready to begin the right-of-way acquisition process, each property owner will receive a letter of intent to acquire from our office, along with a property map which depicts the exact rights to be acquired. And Sam, if you go to the next slide, we see a sample on the screen there. At that point, we determine the fair market value of those rights, and we use that to establish an offer of just compensation. That offer is sent out to the property owners in writing, and a right-of-way agent is available to meet with the property owner. They will, in great detail explain the project, the impacts to that particular property, and they'll also explain how the state developed that offer. The property owner will have a reasonable time to consider the offer and enter in negotiations if they so choose. Once an agreement is reached, the DOT prepares all the necessary paperwork to transfer those property rights. So they'll prepare the deed and any necessary subordinations, and they will file those along with the property map on the town land records. However, if negotiation reaches an impasse, In order to keep the project on schedule, the department may acquire the rights it needs through its power of eminent domain. So what happens in that case is the state files a notice of condemnation in the local superior court, along with a deposit in the amount of that state's offer of just compensation. The property owner would have 6 months from that point to file for an appeal if they thought that the state's offer was inadequate. Now, whether or not they elect to use their right to appeal, the money that was deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the owner at any time. So I know a lot of people, they hear eminent domain, they think, oh, the state DOT, they can just take my whole property for $1, but that's not the case. Every affected property owner is entitled to at least that original offer of just compensation, and the state only takes title to the property rights that are needed to allow the project to move forward. I'll be here after the presentation to answer any questions anybody has on our right-of-way acquisition process, but in the meantime, I'm going to turn it back to Sam to conclude the presentation.
All right, thanks, Matt. All right, so just moving to our construction considerations now. So construction is estimated to take about 2 construction seasons, and our construction seasons run from the start of April to the end of November. So we're anticipating this project to start in the spring of 2024. We are anticipating some kind of one-way alternating traffic pattern to be in place with temporary signals only during the reconstruction of Route 140. And as far as a closure of Newell Hill Road goes, we are anticipating that Newell Hill Road will need to be closed only for the duration of the roadway's realignment. And we will have a detour in place similar to what you can see here on your screen in red. That's going to redirect traffic from Newell Hill onto Ludwig for access to Route 140. Again, I'd just like to reiterate that Newell Hill Road will only be closed during the duration of the realignment. Otherwise, it will be open during construction. Looking at our environmental considerations now, we actually had no adverse environmental impacts anticipated as part of these improvements, which is good. And it was also brought to our attention that there is a memorial located between 38 Crystal Lake Road and 48 Burbank Road along this Route 140 westbound embankment here, and we will be resetting that memorial following the completion of construction. All right, so with that, I'm now going to turn this over to our consultant, Steve Frazier, who's going to moderate the question and answer session for this presentation. Steve?
Thanks, Sam. Good evening. As previously mentioned, my name is Steve Frazier, and I will be the MC for tonight's question and answer session. First, I want to thank everyone for attending tonight's presentation, and as indicated, we are in the early preliminary phases of this project, and we want to engage the public and make sure that any questions, comments, and concerns are heard and considered. That being said, there are a number of ways for everyone to submit questions or comments if you have them. First, on the screen, I'd like to point out the email for the project. It is dotproject47-121@ct.gov. The second is by phone, by leaving a voicemail. You can call 860-944-1111. And if possible, please include the project number and location in your voicemail message that you leave there. A third way is utilizing the MS Teams live event chat. And I want to note about this, that this function is only available during the live presentation going on right now. And for those of you who are viewing this event via YouTube Live, you will not have access, nor will you be able to view the MS Teams live event chat function. Should you have questions or comments, you will need to submit them by email or phone that I mentioned previously. Please keep in mind when you need that you will need to copy and paste the email from the YouTube description into your preferred email platform. I want to also point out that the comment period for this project will be open until July 12th, 2022. I also want to encourage attendees to take a brief voluntary post-meeting survey. A link can be found at the project webpage. This information, I should say the information in this survey, will help us improve our public outreach for future presentations. The project webpage can be found at https://portal/ct.gov/dot Ellington 47-121. And I do want to say, as a reminder, YouTube Live participants will not have access to the MS Teams live event chat, and you will need to submit your questions or comments using the email or the phone number and leaving a voicemail. With that, I will now be moderating some of the questions that have come in. So there is a question to kick off the Q&A session here. The question is, how much will this project cost? Can I hand it over to Sam, please?
Actually, Steve, I'll take that question.
Okay.
Hi, this is Devin Rasico, project engineer for the project. I'd just like to answer that by saying that the project will cost approximately $4 million, and that will include, that cost also includes the utility relocations that Sam mentioned in the presentation, and as well as a percentage added for contingencies and incidentals. And those costs, that $4 million, would be covered under 80% federal money and 20% state funds. So this being a state project, there would be no costs bore by the town.
All right. Thank you, Devin.
Thanks.
I just want to encourage, just to remind everyone, again, there are a number of ways to submit questions. So please, I encourage you to get them in first via the email that's shown on the screen. It's dotproject47-121 at ct.gov. The second is by phone and leaving a voicemail. It's 860-944-1111. And please remember to reference project 47-121 when you leave a voicemail. And of course, we have the MS Teams live event chat for those of you joining via that avenue. And again, for those on YouTube Live, please submit questions via the email or the voicemail. I see we have a second question. The question is, can you please describe your traffic calming considerations? Devin, can I have you answer that one, please?
Sure. So, Sam, if you could go to the color plan real quick.
Yeah, of course.
So there's several aspects that will contribute to traffic calming on this project. One is maintaining narrower shoulders throughout the project limits, which also aligns with maintaining the character of the roadway, this being a rural state road. It's pretty typical to have narrower shoulders, narrower travel lanes, which we will be preserving with the project. And those two things definitely factor into traffic calming, as well as improving safety. So the primary purpose of this project was to improve the sight lines at Burbank Road. And by improving those sight lines, it will most definitely contribute to improving the safety and hopefully reduce crashes at that intersection, which would all contribute to calming traffic in this location.
Thank you, Devin.
Thanks.
All right. Again, definitely encourage everyone to ask questions either via the project email or the project voicemail, like calling a number and leaving a voicemail, or via our MS Teams live event chat. I see that we have another question, so I'll go ahead and read that one. The question is, has there been consideration to the settling of Route 140 east of Burbank? The cross slope doesn't meet federal standards and should be addressed while this project is ongoing. Devin, can I have you answer that question?
Sure. Yeah, so the department is aware of the issues east of Burbank there with the cross slope and the pavement condition. Unfortunately, based on the purpose and need of this project, we are unable to include it without further extending the design timeline. So it is on the department's radar, and our pavement design team is considering it for future projects.
Okay. Thank you, Devin. I also want to add a side note before I pose the next question here. There are opportunities, if you feel that a question that you've asked or submitted needs further discussion or explanations, I would definitely encourage you to submit that question or request for discussion to the project email, or leave a voicemail about it. That way follow-up can occur. The project email, just to reiterate, is DOT project 47-121 at ct.gov. And the phone number to call to leave a voicemail, 860-944-1111. We have a new question here via email. The question is, how many utility poles will need to be relocated as part of these improvements? Devin, would you be able to answer that, please?
Absolutely. Sam, could you go to the utility relocation slide, please?
Yep.
So there will be a total of, we're estimating a total of 8 utility poles to be relocated as part of this project. We're still in the preliminary design phase, so our full utility coordination has not been undergone yet. So once we get through this meeting and get all the design considerations together, we will meet with the private utility companies and go over any utility relocations that would be required as part of the project's proposed improvements. But as we see it right now, based on our project impacts that we've discovered, there's approximately 8 overhead utility poles that would need to be relocated.
Okay, thank you, Devin.
Thank you.
So I do have another question that I will read now. The question is, the 2 fields wetland areas east of Burbank Road intersection have frequently overtopped 6 inches to 12 inches during springtime rain. Are there any considerations for hydraulic relief to prevent this roadway hazard? Devin, can I have you start off answering that one?
Sure. Excuse me. Yeah, so there were some considerations about the culverts there. Again, with this would coincide with my answer to the previous question on the pavement condition. This was a contributing factor as to why the department decided to go with providing the improvements at the Burbank Road intersection under this project. And eyeing that location further east for a standalone project in the future as we consider design options.
Okay, thank you, Devin.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, we have another question here that I will read. Question is, how long will the alternating one-way traffic pattern be in effect on Route 140? Devin, can you answer that, please?
Sure. So, Sam, can you go to that the slide with the detour information? Yeah. So as we presented, the estimated construction duration would be approximately 2 construction seasons, which our construction seasons start on April 1st and then November 30th. And so within that construction time frame, we are anticipating a one-way alternating traffic pattern, which would have temporary signals on either end to control traffic through 140. As far as the duration goes, it's still early in the construction sequencing to be developed for the project here. However, the department will coordinate with the town and its emergency services to mitigate the disruption to residents during that work. But it is anticipated that we would need to maintain that one-way alternating traffic to construct one side of the roadway while maintaining traffic on the other side. And then once one side of the road is complete, we would then shift traffic over to the newly paved section of roadway and finish the other side of the road. Again, it's still early in the design process to know the exact timeline for that one-way alternating traffic pattern, but the town and residents would definitely be informed of any detours or delays well in advance of construction taking place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Devin. All right. I have another question that I will read now. It's a follow-up question to an earlier question. It's, can you explain the drainage that will be included to mitigate the current runoff from Newell Hill Road and the land to the north? Devin, would you like to start that one off, please?
Sure. Sam, can you pull up the black and white plan for me? So this being preliminary design again, drainage design is still underway. So we have a lot of work to do as far as working out the kinks with the drainage design. But the intent is to definitely not overburden the system that's there, and we would be working to direct overland flow and closed system flow out to the existing drainage system at approximately station 101 there. Sam, if you can point over there, yes. Yeah, so most of the drainage runoff that will be funneled from our project, it will be conveyed to that drainage system there and outletted across Route 140 to the south.
Okay. Thank you, Devin.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. So we have a phone message. So glad to see that a lot of different avenues are being taken advantage of to ask questions. It's great to see. The question is, property owners of the mowing field north of Route 140 and east of Burbank Road are concerned about potential drainage issues in their field as a result of the improvements. Will the project improvements be diverting additional water into the field? Devin, can I give you this to answer?
Sure, Sam, can you pull up that plan again? So the proposed improvements should not negatively impact that property to the northeast corner of Burbank and Route 140. We won't be directing any closed system flow to that area. So anything that's draining to that area today would continue to drain to that area. With our cross slope corrections, you should hope to see a little bit of a reduction, but there will essentially be no change with the proposed improvements. As you can see on the plan here, we have some catch basin structures. Again, this is preliminary, but we would be directing flow to the outletting to the southeast corner of the intersection and adjacent wetlands.
Okay. Thank you, Devin. All right, we have another question that I will read now. During the winter time, cars frequently slide into the wetland areas due to the crown east of Burbank Road intersection. Can the project be extended slightly to resolve this road hazard condition as part of this project? Devin, can I have you answer that one, please?
Sure. So during the wintertime, cars frequently slide into the wetland areas due to the crown east of Burbank Road intersection. Can the project be extended slightly to resolve this road hazard condition as part of the project? I'm not sure which location you're referring to east of Burbank, if that was northbound or southbound, but Sam, can you pull up the plan?
Yeah, I think it's the same area that you had referenced before, Devin, off to the east of Burbank Road there, that wetland area.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, as far as our project limits go, we're terminating at the location you can see on the screen there, right where Sam's cursor is, just to the right there. Yep. And that would be the extent of our paving limits. So up to that point, we would be correcting cross slope. So we would be flattening the crown up to that point with a transition length to transition to tie into the existing cross slopes that are out there today. Again, you know, the area further east of this intersection unfortunately isn't covered under the project's full scope. The primary purpose of this project is to address the deficient sight lines at Burbank Road, but it is on the department's radar, and we will take your considerations into account. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Devin. I do want to point out that there are, just a reminder, there are a number of avenues that can be pursued to ask questions. The first is via email at the project email, which is dotproject47-121@ct.gov. You can also call a phone number and leave a voicemail That phone number is 860-944-1111, and please reference this project 47121, and the location in your voicemail. We also have the MS Teams live chat. Questions can be submitted via the chat window. And again, for those on YouTube live, please submit your questions via the email or the voicemail option that I noted previously. There's a new question. The question is, the Town of Ellington placed a curtain drain to relieve water drainage along the western side of Burbank Road into the catch basin at the northern limit of the project. Will this be replaced as part of this project? Devin, can I have you answer that, please?
Sure. That catch basin is just beyond our project limits, so that will not be replaced as part of this project. And it is also located on a town road, so it would be beyond our jurisdiction unless we were to extend our project limits.
I believe it was also asking about the curtain drain on the west side of Burbank Road.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is that in the same location? Yeah, I think they're referring to the same location there that acts as a weir over there. Yeah, our project limits end just before that drainage system, so we shouldn't be affecting that as part of the project.
Okay.
And again, Rob, I know Rob's asking a few questions here. If you would like, you can reach out to us through the project email, provide some contact information, and we would be happy to go over more of your concerns in depth if you wanted to discuss them.
Okay, thank you, Devin. I do want to give a last call for comments, questions. We've currently discussed all the questions that we've received so far. So again, we have options to submit questions. The first is via the project email. Again, it's up on the screen. I'll read it as well. It's DOT project 47-121 at ct.gov. The second option is to call a phone number and leave a voicemail, which is being monitored. The phone number is 860-944-1111, and please reference project number 47-121 in your voicemail, as well as the Town of Ellington. The third option is to send a chat via the MS Teams live event chat. Submit your questions in that way. And also those who are viewing on YouTube Live, please use the email or the phone number to submit a question. And just a reminder about the survey for the project. Definitely encourage everyone to follow the link that's on the project website. It's also posted here on the screen. That will bring you to a survey for the project for us to gain feedback and to take that feedback and apply to future presentations. Also, please visit the project website. It's https:// portal www.ct.gov/DOT Ellington 47-121. And in case you're not able to submit a comment via any of these avenues, the comment period is open through July 12th. So please follow up via this email on the screen or leave a voicemail at the phone number. So I don't see any more new questions that have come in. So I will be concluding this question and answer session and concluding the presentation. Again, thank you everyone for attending, for asking questions. And again, please, if something comes to mind, please submit it via the email on the screen or leave a voicemail about it at the phone number on the screen. One more time before I conclude, the email to leave comments until July 12th is dotproject47-121 at ct.gov. And then the phone number to call to leave a voicemail about this public meeting is 860-944-1111. And please reference the project number 47-121 in your voicemail. Devin or anyone else in the project team, any last words before I conclude?
Sure, Steve. I just wanted to just say thanks to everyone for joining this meeting this evening. As a department, we value your public feedback. It's a big part of the design process, and the Department of Transportation seriously values your input. So I just want to thank you again and enjoy the rest of your evening.